All right, we're live. Melissa, say hello.
Hello.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. I'm in Waxahachie.
You're in Waxahachie.
I love it.
It's so exciting.
Thank you for having me in your home, of all places.
Mm-hmm.
If you see, that's actually a batting cage back there for her kids who play baseball. All right, you ready? Let's get started?
Yes.
All right, hello everybody. My name's Alex Vidal. I am the Regional Vice President for Coldwell Banker here in DFW, and today I'm coming to you live from Ellis County, technically Waxahachie,
That's right.
Very small town. And if there's anybody who dominates Waxahachie, it's Melissa McLean Lewis, our top producer here. Get this, guys, over 100 deals a year. She's got a family. She gives back to the community, and she has a lake house and enjoys her lake house on the weekends. So we're going to talk today about how can you enjoy life and still close 100 deals a year. But before we get into that, Melissa, tell us who you are. This is the first time I've met her, by the way. So.
Yes, it's so exciting. I am actually fourth generation Ellis County resident, and my husband is fifth or sixth, I think.
Who's right behind the camera.
Yes, Chris is here, and I couldn't do what I do without him. And our roots are planted very deep here. So we went to high school together. My mom, I actually have a newspaper to show you from 1985.
Really?
Was a realtor. Both my parents were, only for part-time in the 80s.
Okay.
So that didn't last very long.
Were they with Coldwell Banker?
They were actually with Century 21.
Oh, okay, close in the family.
Yeah, it was a small brokerage here. But their broker was with Coldwell Banker, Stephanie Brown Pinkston.
Okay.
She's with Dallas Brokerage now. But we've just been here our whole life. We know this area like the back of our hand. We love it. And I always tell people we're in the trenches here. So what I tell you, I know to be exact pretty much because we live it.
That's right.
We eat, sleep, breathe Waxahachie, Ellis County. We know it like the back of our hand. And we really don't do business anywhere else.
Got it.
So our kids are in the schools here. We go to church here. We work here. We shop here. Our families are here. We go to the doctor here. So pretty much, when we have somebody move in that's not familiar with this area, I can pretty much tell them anything that they want to know
about the area. So did you go straight into real estate like out of high school, or did you have like a brief hiatus and then you got into it?
No. So funny story. My parents were the customers that every realtor wants.
Okay.
They moved every couple of years, always in Waxahachie.
Sure.
And so our family realtor, Vera Camerback, she saw my mom one day in the grocery store and just asked if I was going to be needing a job as a senior. I was a senior in high school, and my mom said, well, she's not really looking for a job. But I had done most of my credits, so I was able to work through the co-op program at the high school. And I was going to Waxahachie, Navarro, and Navarro's our community college here. Okay. And then the co-op program. And so I went to work on a whim for Vera in high school, and I was her assistant, and that was in the year 2000. And then Coldwell Banker actually bought Vera out. She was Prudential. Her and Betty Venable were Prudential Metro Realtors.
I didn't know. I was with Prudential many years.
So Prudential Metro Realtors here in Waxahachie. And I kind of went with the sell, but I became, instead of the office's personal assistant, I became Vera and Betty's personal assistant.
Okay.
And I referenced the year 2000 because after I graduated from high school, that was September 11th, 2001. Yep. So Vera didn't hire another senior because the economy was kind of crazy at that point. So I just came back and worked for her during the summer, Christmas break, stuff like that. And she never hired anybody else. So then I knew that I wanted to do real estate. I didn't really want to go and commute to Dallas. And I had a business degree from Texas State in San Marcos with a marketing major. And so I was like, banking, insurance, real estate. 20 years ago in Waxahachie, there wasn't a lot to pick from if you weren't going to commute to Dallas. And so I graduated in August, took my test in September, and then I was licensed, actually, coincidentally, now on my son's birthday. He has a Halloween birthday.
Oh, yeah, cool. Very
cool. October 31st, 2004.
Wow, all right, so 16 years. Now, there's a bunch of different ways we can go this, but one of the things I loved, and I called Frank Obringer and Joanne on the way up, and I'm like, what do I need to know about Melissa, right? And they're like, they both said it. What's crazy to me is that she does over 100 deals, but yet she makes time for her family and everything else. So before we even get into how you do 100 deals, I actually want to go the reverse. And we did not prepare for this, by the way. Again, I just met her 5 minutes ago.
Seriously.
And even though I've been in Dallas for 4 months, it's been kind of crazy. What are some, so she has no idea what I'm going to ask her, and I didn't know what I was going to ask her until right now. What are some non-negotiables right?
Okay.
So because if you're going to church, you're giving back to the church and the community. You have your kids, and obviously your kids play sports when you have a batting cage in your own yard.
Yes.
You got to have certain non-negotiables in your business. What are those?
Well, for me, non-negotiables are time blocking and deciding what's important to you. So early on, before Chris joins me in this industry, Sunday was our only day off together. And we were married about 6 years before we had kids. And so it was hard and fast that I did not work on Sunday.
Okay.
And I even had that on my voicemail. And I would tell people, and there's very rarely any point in time that I got any pushback on that for a long time. Now with baseball and whatnot, it sometimes is a little bit hard to maneuver having Sundays off altogether.
Sure.
But I still hold pretty true to that. I had one appointment on a walkthrough that I had to do yesterday with the buyer because I had 3 closings today and we had to juggle this.
3 closings today.
But I never miss a game. I don't miss my kids' games. And family just comes first because I've seen agents get burnt out. Okay. And I never wanted to be that person. Now, most all of my clients, family, friends would say that I work a lot, but I just like to work. That's just who I am. I was raised that way. My parents, brought me up with a strong work ethic.
But if you're working hard and you're not missing any life events and you're working with your husband, so you're not lacking that, then it's a beautiful mixture, right? If you're working hard and you're not taking time to enjoy the family, it makes sense. So when you block for a game, and I'm the same way, like I do not miss.
No, I'm not missing
Ryan Gorman, the CEO of Coldwell Banker, can be calling me. I'm not missing the game, right? Because I'm of the opinion that I'm not going to be on my deathbed saying, man, I wish I sold more real estate or for whomever, right?
Yes, correct.
My family, though, 100%. So are you open and honest with your clients and tell them, hey, I got my son's got a game, I'm not missing that?
Absolutely. Open and honest. They know, and we really don't work with a whole lot of strangers, and so they know that that's important to me. And most of the people that we work with are from around here too, and that's a strong foundation for them. They wouldn't ask me to miss a game because they wouldn't miss a game for their kid.
Interesting. So serving a community and working in a community that has the same values that you have in terms of what you want. I love that. Okay. So most of your business is referral business? Yes.
So I started when I was 21. So it's not like a lot of 21-year-olds are buying their first home. And growing up, I did a lot of babysitting, and I just solely relied on my sphere of influence because it was kind of like, if you're going to trust me with your kid, hopefully you'll trust me with the biggest investment you'll make.
I like that. I love that.
And so I just solely really just had to rely on my sphere of influence, which was really large because our family has been here forever. Church groups, teachers, I've sold tons of my teachers' houses. I talked to one of I think she was 7th and 8th grade reading teacher this week. I rented a house for her earlier this year.
How cool.
And so just people that knew me and that I knew that I really didn't have to sell myself to, I had to earn their business because I was young and there's plenty of other people that they could have done business with, but I had to solely rely on sphere of influence, and it's just grown and grown and grown since then.
So do you have a system in place that you follow up with your sphere?
I do. Okay. So I'll tell you, at first, it was our entire family doing mail outs. I am a direct mail person.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yes,
I want to dig on that. Okay.
I'm a direct mail person. And so with my sphere, it would be once a month I would do that because in the year 2000, Facebook was a thing, but I got on only when you had to have a college email address. Okay. So it wasn't a thing for everybody. Yeah. It was just a thing for college people. So we didn't have, email newsletters as much and text where you can group me and do all that. So direct mail was my thing. I'm not really into door knocking, and I'm not really into cold calling. So I just focused on people that I knew. And we did once a month. Our family would sit down and I would make my own.
And are you still doing that today?
We are still doing that. You'll see at the office. Okay. We have our calendars ready to go. But now we have help that does it. So my niece actually helps us, and Gentry, our oldest son, does all the stamps and labels. So
give me an idea of some of the content that you're pushing. So if you're mailing your sphere of influence once a month, right? What type of...
Not once a month anymore. Okay. We do probably about once a quarter now. Okay. But once a month it started off that way.
And are you following that up with emails? And
we have everything now.
Got it.
That's just how it started. Okay. Yes.
So what's regardless of the methodology on how it gets delivered, if it's text, email, mail, Facebook, whatever, what type of content are you pushing to your sphere?
Well, a lot of what we push mainly is our listings because that's what people care about. They want to see the houses. We do general reminders and we do the Clients for Life campaign with Coldwell Banker. I'm not really good about putting little facts out there about the real estate market because I feel like anybody that wants to know that, they just call and ask me or text me or send an email. We do get our brain picked a lot, which I love helping people, so that's not a big deal at all. But mainly just what we have, our inventory.
Got it.
So.
And you're listing, okay, so you get a listing, right? Do you do the, and so I teach a lot the listing presentation class, so I'm going to put you on the spot here.
Okay.
If you're interviewing a potential seller that happens to be a friend of yours, past client, are you doing the full listing presentation every time?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And I 100% have watched you and agree, even if it's your brother, cousin, son, you should still do it. So absolutely, because one thing that I'm a firm believer on, I don't know if you know this about me or not, but I am huge advocate of listing concierge. Okay. And there is nobody in our market that can compete with us on listing concierge and what we have to offer. So I want them to know what their 6% is getting them as far as marketing. And for somebody in this area in Ellis County, it's a big deal that your property is getting in D Magazine.
That's right.
We have a lot of people moving here from the Metroplex, and it's a huge deal that we can offer that because no other brokerage in Ellis County can offer that like we can.
Okay, so for those that aren't watching, Listing Concierge is a package that essentially for a third of what it would cost you as an agent outside of Coldwell Banker, you get this monster arsenal of tools from D Magazine, the mail outs, to photography, to drone photography, TV show, YouTube, etc. It's phenomenal. If you're not with Coldwell Banker, you don't know what you're missing.
Correct.
And if you are with Coldwell Banker and you're not using it, what else do we need?
Yeah.
Call her, right? So I'm curious because I'm kind of, there's two different ways you can pitch Listing Concierge. Or just what you do in general. Do you just pitch and say, hey, this is Listing Concierge, or do you wait to get the feedback from the seller, and then depending on what they tell you, you break up Listing Concierge into different pieces?
No, there's not a lot of feedback when I give my listing presentation. It's pretty cut and dry, and we're very systematic in our business. And so we have a routine that Chris and I do when we go on the listing. It takes about an hour. Okay. And so there's not a lot of hurry up and wait. It's we know exactly what we're doing whenever we go in there. We're presenting it to them. And then if they have questions, then we can expand further. But what's there to really ask with Listing Concierge?
Got it.
There's just not.
So now you know what question may be coming next. Walk me through that. You don't have to go into the specifics, but what's the flow of your listing presentation?
Okay.
I mean, so what percent of your business is listings?
Probably I would say 70.
70%. So 70 listings a year at least. Okay. What's your flow then? And it's interesting because last week I had my buyer's agent, Liz, and that's all she does.
Right.
So this is the reverse. So all right, 70 plus listings. What's your flow of your listing?
I will start with saying that Chris Leader has been phenomenal in training with our company over the years. And so this is not a Chris Leader agreed listing, but it's worked for us, and it's something that I really couldn't change because it's kind of in our real estate DNA. I mean, we've just done it for so long this way that it works for us. So
if you're getting 70 plus listings, I think it's okay.
So we go in and we ask them where we're going to be sitting. And I prefer to sit at the table because it's very awkward if you don't have somewhere to put your paperwork. And we put our stuff down, and I just kind of take the lead at that point as far as telling them what's going to happen and how it's going to go. And then I ask them to take me on a tour of the property, and at that point I'm taking notes. We have a checklist that we use that's basically like our version of the MLS input sheet. So we're already doing that at that point. And then I also ask them what they love about the house. So what sold them, so I can make a note of that because it's pretty likely that somebody else may like that same thing. And then at that point, Chris is going to take measurements and he's checking my notes behind me. So we check everything 3 times, and this is a real big kicker for us and our team. Because we don't want to make any mistakes. And we normally make a mistake on the first or second time, but on the third time, nobody's going to know that we made a mistake.
Got it.
So we check it 3 times. And then at that point, I'm doing the presentation with the seller. He's taking the notes, rechecking everything, taking room measurements, getting us ready.
So he's not with you at the table?
Correct. Yes. We divide and conquer with everything that we do. It's very rare that we're together all day. And so I'm answering any questions from the seller, going over the listing presentation, going over the paperwork. And then, it's pretty much done. So
Wow.
our photographer may go at another time, or we usually try to time it where we can maybe go an hour before or after him. It just kind of depends on our schedule and
Wow.
his
So
schedule.
you're just assuming you're getting the listing, and
Yes.
you already have the photographer set up.
Yes.
So are
now,
you-
if there's a chance that I know that I'm not getting it, he will come at a later date and we'll do a 2-step listing appointment.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
What do you do when you get hit with the commission objection? And do you get hit with the
I
commission
don't,
objection?
because I don't lower my commission. And I tell people my dad has done a ton of business with me and for us, and I don't even lower it for him. So,
Why should you lower for?
yeah. And I tell people on the listing agreement, there's a checkbox for our listing agreement that's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and they say, will you lower it? And I say, no, but I can go up. And then they normally do that, and it's nothing,
I love it.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
cool. So let's talk about the buyers you do work. Are the buyers assuming sphere of influence? What about sign calls?
We have a team, and most of the time I either refer them to somebody on our team if I get a sign call, or I'll kind of feel a hot or cold lead. I always ask if people are pre-approved or if they're working
Sure.
with anybody else. And most of the time, honestly, in today's market with the low inventory that we're having, most of the time if somebody calls from a sign, they're already working with somebody.
Got it.
They're just out, burning the pavement trying to find something that their agent's not finding for them.
Okay. What's your team setup? Like, lay it out.
Okay. Just me and Chris, and then we have a buyer's agent, Damon Bentley, who is
Okay.
phenomenal. He was actually one of our clients.
Oh, really cool.
Yes, and he owned a pizza franchise, and then when he sold that, he has about 25 rent houses, and he owns some commercial properties that I handled for him. And so that's how we got to know each other. He actually came as a referral from a sphere of influence of somebody standing in line at the bank. And so we worked together for a number of years, and he kept telling me, I'm going to get my real estate license and I'm going to join your team. And I thought, okay. And it took him a while because he had other things going on, but then he finally did. And so he's on our team. And then we have a transaction coordinator, Marissa Gary, and she is behind the scenes doing all of the paperwork, marketing.
Okay, so let's go there for a minute. All right, this is what I love about these. I almost not like knowing what I'm walking into because we can go in different directions. I'm of the opinion realtors should be doing one of three things: showing property,
Exactly.
prospecting for new business, or going on a listing
Yes.
presentation. So with your transaction coordinator, at what point in your business did you hire them? And with the transaction coordinator, do they do anything that's client facing? Or if anything it involves the client, you get involved. Like, how do you leverage your transaction coordinator?
We are a very different team from what I found in the marketplace. Very, very different. And Chad Collins is not with our company anymore, but when he was, I had a different manager, Pam Scott. She's not with our company anymore either. But she
They may
told
come
me,
back. You never know.
hey, they might. She was great. Chad was great too.
Chad's great. I love Chad.
Yeah. So she told me to call Chad, and I was very nervous about calling Chad because at the time I was just somebody in Waxahachie that only did a little bit of business.
Yeah.
And so I called him, and he was very gracious to give me knowledge that he had as far as setting up a team. And I think at the time he had 7 people on his team, so we weren't anywhere near that. But he really gave me the information and allowed me to set up the foundation to build our team. And gave me a lot of tricks, and he didn't even know me. He didn't have to do any of that.
Yeah.
He was so kind to do that. And so my first boss, Vera, she always said, if you're in the office, you're not making money. And that is so true. Just like you said, you need to be out prospecting, showing, whatnot. So I had been in the business about 2 years. In 2006, Chris and I got married, and I was trying to plan a wedding and sell real estate, and it was pretty busy at that point. And so I did what Vera did. I hired a senior that was in high school to teach some life lessons, work part-time. So I kind of followed in her footsteps on how I got started. And at that point, I was probably doing on my own 70 to 75 deals. But I didn't have life balance. I didn't have any life balance, okay? And that's not really normal. It's not normal to be able to do that, but I did. And so at that point, I got my first assistant. Well, then 2 years later, Chris got a promotion at his job, and he started working nights, which was horrible for our family dynamics.
Sure.
Gentry was too. and that was just not very good. So at that point, I had been wanting Chris to get into real estate with me since we got married, but the Lord knew better, and he knew that it wasn't the right time, and 2 years later it was the right time. And so Chris literally was working 60-hour weeks, helping me put out signs, and studied on his off time and part-time keeping our 2-year-old because of his schedule, and took his real estate exam and passed on the first time. And so we hit the ground running there. And we thought Chris would be out. We have different personalities. He's a little bit more reserved. We thought he would be more behind the scenes doing paperwork and stuff. Not at all. Didn't happen. So Marissa Gary, I got her into the business. She was actually in property management, and her kids were just a little bit older. They're about the age of my kids now. And so she had a little bit more free time on her hands because her kids were in school full time. And so we just talked, and we're like, hey, why don't you join our team? And so she did, and she had no desire to be out with people. And so she loves paperwork, and we hate it.
There you go. No good salespeople likes paperwork.
No.
But you hired a senior. Interesting. Okay. Did you pay the senior at the time?
Yeah, we paid the senior. Yeah, so we actually we've had 3 seniors work for us. Yes, yeah, and they were always girls that were involved in other things. So they would work, anywhere from 10 to 12 hours a week, depending on what we had.
Got it.
And they would do personal stuff like run errands. They might put up a sign, but mainly our personal stuff. Go get dry cleaning.
So there you go. If you think you can't afford a transaction coordinator, look for high school seniors.
Yeah,
probably easier now if they're doing virtual learning too. Right?
And if you have a college in your town, there's people that need to build their resume. We did have a guy that was in the midst of graduating from Ole Miss, and he came and
Ole Miss. That's Brent Germany's school.
He came and shadowed us and put that on his resume and did some help too.
Oh, very cool.
So yeah.
Okay, so 2 last questions. Okay, one is if you can go back to when you first got started in the business and give yourself a piece of advice, what would it be?
Don't get so worked up over stuff that you can't control. There's so much in this business that we can't control, and I'm kind of a control freak. So,
but you have a transaction coordinator.
Well,
so major kudos.
Yeah, but she's trained on my system.
Okay.
So, but she's put a lot of systems into place that has made us better. But just there's certain things that you can't control. You can't control that the lender didn't get docs to the title company on time, or called you Wednesday at 3:00 for a Thursday closing. And so you have to handle those objections with your clients. It's very stressful, but I wouldn't, lose sleep over it or get upset, or I just used to get so upset about that kind of stuff. And we just know that we can't control it now. And
don't worry about getting upset. Just figure out the solution.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the exact perfect. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So last question, you said specifically, do not ask me about a book, podcast, or TED Talk recommendation. So I got you on this my shoulder telling me this, but then on this shoulder, I have a mentor. His name's Emmett Logan. I've had him from back in Florida. And Emmett, he goes, I didn't realize my collar was sticking out the whole time. You should have told me.
Sorry. You did have a spider web.
Is that what that was? I was like, something's like fluttering in here.
You're in the country now.
Yeah, I have the sun, not perfect timing, but anyways, there you go. That's what happens when you film live.
That's right.
And in my last episode with Liz, I got so caught up, I forgot to ask her the question. So I got Emmett on the other side telling me, Alex, you didn't ask, so he watched till the end. And I know Emmett's going to be watching this one. So if you're not into books or podcasts or TED Talks, what do you do to stay, on like the cusp of what's happening and educated about what's going on? How are you getting better?
Yes, probably. I am a reader, but I can't give like a great book because I'm busy at work. We try to get our free time in, and I have young kids. I have an 8-year-old and a 4-year-old. So it's not like I'm really, sitting reading a lot with a book.
You don't have the time.
Right. Maybe another time in my life. But I do like to read articles, and I do follow Jared James. And so I don't really have a podcast for him, so to speak, but there's a lot that I like to listen to with him if I'm in the car.
Okay. What does he talk about? I've never heard of Jared James.
Jared James, real estate?
No idea. Oh, no idea.
He
120 episodes. You're the first person to bring him up.
Yeah, Jared James. He's awesome. So I'm on his Instagram, social media. He's just a real estate mentor and motivator, and
There you go.
Yeah, so look him up.
All right,
I
Jared
think you'll
James.
like it.
I learned something today, too.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Sweet.
And y'all have a lot of similar energy.
Okay.
One of his things is, did you sweat today? So he likes to work out. Yeah.
I sweated today. We went for a run in 37-degree weather.
Yes.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
Melissa, thank you so much. This was awesome.
Yes.
And this is one of the things I can tell you about the show that I've learned is now that it's in Dallas and I'm using it as a way to really get to know our great agents in the Metroplex. This blew my expectations away. Thank you so much.
Good, yes.
All right, I'm going to go around. Any parting words for the audience? How can they find you? If somebody's looking here, how do they find you?
Website, melissamcleanlewis.com. We're on Instagram, Facebook, McLean Lewis Team. You can also search Waxahachie, and most of our stuff is tagged as far as locations there.
There you go. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, man. We are live.
What's up, Alex?
Mr. Brent Germany. Yeah, I told you we got to go wireless.
We do. It's all good.
It's all good. Hello, everybody. My name is Alex Vidal. You are watching episode number 112 of the Closer Club. Today we are sitting with my newfound friend, Brent Germany, and I say newfound friend because even though we go back and forth, we've only known each other for about 2.5 months.
Yep.
I may have mentioned or not already, I don't know. I'm the regional vice president for Coldwell Banker. We are sitting with Brent Germany, who is out of our Frisco office and one of the top teams, not only in Frisco for Coldwell Banker, but actually in all of DFW. And what's really cool is we're asking questions in this interview that we've never asked before, actually. He challenged me. He said, throw me some curveballs. So here we go. We're sitting outside of this beautiful home because we wanted to be outside and not have masks on and do this the fun way, right?
Right.
So, Brent, you got in the business a few years ago. Now you're one of the top teams in DFW. Tell the audience, who's Brent Germany?
Oh, next question. Pass. No one cares about that.
Oh, all right. So tell us what was before real estate?
Okay, no, so...
Because you're 42, right?
Yeah, I'm 42. I age gracefully, so I think.
Father, twin boys.
Yeah, twin boys, 5-year-old boys. They're awesome. Family's everything for us. Grew up in Mississippi. Don't know if you knew that. That's the Ole Miss connection there. And hotty toddy.
Yeah.
So
go Gators.
No, I don't think so.
We're gonna talk about that in a second.
But yeah, moved to Plano in 8th grade, and so I've got the Texas connection there, and just been here ever since, and just kind of doing my thing.
So, what were you doing before real estate?
Actually, I got my degree in a business degree from Ole Miss and in computer science and management information systems. So I was just a web nerd.
Got it.
And have no sales.
You, a web nerd with a Bronco, the CrossFit gym, and a guitar in your office.
Yeah, of course.
Oh,
I've got to disguise it somehow.
Yeah,
so,
I hear it.
But yeah, so I started in computer science, was doing web development, and what got me into real estate was I started developing sort of a IDX website, and I needed my license to get access to the data feed.
No way.
And I got sponsored I started with Keller Williams and got sponsored there, and had a lender buddy, and he's like, hey, you should just do some sales, and here we are.
Oh my God, that is awesome. By the way, I know how smart Brent is. He sat right away on the right side, and I realized why. He's in the shade, and I'm getting blasted by the sun. Dude, that's actually a really cool story. Now, what's really cool is, now hear this out, guys. Joined us in January.
Yep.
We're going to talk about that in a minute, but $38 million last year.
Yep.
$60 million already closed this year with you and your team. You're approaching $80 million with a vengeance.
Yep.
During COVID,
right?
When COVID hit, as a lot of people like to say. So we got to talk about that. 3 questions. How'd you do it? Did you change anything when COVID started? And what are you keeping? Now we're kind of like on the tail end of this, at least here in Texas, in terms of being able to be out, do normal activities. Sure. What are you keeping, and what are you going to go back to?
So, what did we do to get here? First moved to Coldwell Banker, right?
Yep.
So
I got to slip them with 20.
Yeah. But what we really did was when COVID hit, it was interesting, and this kind of goes back to my tech background, is I was seeing a lot of the people in real estate that were using it more for a job and not a career.
Okay.
Kind of ducking and covering, hiding under their bed, whatever, staying out of the limelight, not working at all.
Sure.
And so what that did with tech is costs started going down for things we were paying for, like online lead generation, stuff like that. So I was actually generating even more leads without spending any more money.
Got it.
So the first thing we did was start hiring. And you should always be hiring. That's always right. Keep that bench going. And so that's what we did. I think at the end of last year, we might have had 7 or 8, and we've got 19 agents on the team now with 5 or 6 of them just getting started. So by the time 2021 hits, we should be able to just be crushing it, right?
So you didn't? Did you change anything, or you just, aside from hiring to your team? Because now it's like all of a sudden I'm spending X number of dollars a month.
Right.
I'm getting X number of leads, same amount a month. Now I'm actually getting more leads.
Right.
Right. And all you did was add to the team.
So we definitely had to change some things. We had to become more virtual.
Okay.
We saw actually the team's dial numbers would go up because they're sitting at home, and really when this started, showings definitely stopped, and people got
March,
really
April, for sure.
Yeah, so people were really scared. But we used that, and I felt like we really just banded together even more as a team and really rallied together and supported each other. And so for that aspect, that's really the only thing that's changed. Now, with COVID ending, offices are back open.
Right.
Are we going back away from that? And I'm very much a person that's like, hey, you need to be present in the office. You need to be, you need to have call time and all this stuff. But we're having agents come up to me now and say, hey, I'm actually being more productive at my house. So I've got several agents right now doing a 60-day case study saying, okay, you want to do it for 60 days? Let's see what you can do. Okay. And we've got some that are really excelling at it. So it kind of opens my eyes up that just says, not everyone fits in this one box.
That's right.
And especially with us now building out a team in South Dallas, because they're going to be virtual. They're going to drive 2 hours to Frisco through traffic, So a little bit, and then I guess the tail end of your question is, what are we going to miss about COVID? I guess nothing.
Or what are you going back to? So let me ask you this. So your team 60-day trial, right?
Right.
Virtual. Forget South Dallas for a minute. Let's talk about.
And that's just certain people on the team.
I got it.
Right.
Now, when you have meetings, though, you're still bringing them in, though. Okay, so they're virtual for 80% of the time.
Well, our team huddles, things like that, because those are 5-10 minutes. Those are going to be on Zoom.
Okay.
Team meetings, if you're in South Dallas, those are in Zoom. But team events, we went bowling last night, so everyone was there for that.
Got it. So you're bringing them back together. Yeah, it's interesting. For the first time ever, I actually have a home office, like a legit, not a bedroom into an office, like a legit home office. That's the picture I sent you, the Longhorns, all that stuff.
That's awesome.
And so I'll work from there. Like I worked from there till like 11. But then I'm on the road till 3 o'clock, and then I work from here the rest of the afternoon. So I have this great balance. I don't think I could ever be home all the time, but now that I'm getting a taste of being home, I don't think I could be in the office 24/7 either.
I need to be in the office. I've got 5-year-olds running around, so daddy, and they always want to play, which is awesome. Correct. But I've got to keep the lights on.
That's right. You got to provide for them.
Yeah. Now, I will say, not to interrupt you, but I will say that the one thing about COVID that I want to stay is all the people that we're ducking and covering.
Yeah.
It's 80% of the business is done by the top 20%. It needs to stay that way.
It's probably, I would venture to say it's either 90-10 or maybe even 95-5.
Yeah, exactly.
And we saw it as a brokerage, right? Any brokerage kind of probably experienced this, where the top agents who didn't take it as an excuse, they were Pac-Man. I said this in Tanya's interview. I know you watch it. Pac-Man, just chewing up market share. You chewed it up on the leads.
Go.
And then everybody else who used it as an excuse, they went by the wayside.
Yeah, let's go, man. It's awesome.
I mean, there's.
I was sneaking in the back door of the office. Don't tell anybody that.
Well, too late now. You have 10,000 people are going to watch this. What was interesting is I just read an article that in Florida, their applications, the number of applications of people getting their real estate license just shot up from from New York brokers looking, because nobody wants to move to New York now,
right?
And they're going back. So that state is expanding.
That's awesome.
Luckily in Texas, it's 180 hours to get your license, which I have to do. All right, team leaders. Yes. And this is the one question I've never asked. So team leader, they either stay in production. You have a choice, right? You have how many? 19 on your team?
Yep.
Okay, so you have a choice. You're either in production or you stay out of production. Are you in or you out?
I'm out. Okay, but I'm in and out.
Okay, so let's start. Okay, so let me follow. If you're out, okay. Break down for me then, what are your job descriptions as a leader who's out of production?
Sure, and I will clarify that even though I say I'm out of production, I've sold 20 houses this year. So, but is that really out of production? I don't work with buyers. I generally send that to the team. I refer it out. You have to be careful on how you do that, especially if it's sphere of influence, past clients, because they want to work with me.
I'm going to give you something that I gave an agent of ours, and we're going to share it on camera. I'll share it with you.
Awesome. So, but for me, it's a transition out of production. So this is sort of step 2 on it, and step 3 will be fully out. Right now, it's just doing some listings, and we have with our agents, they come in as a buyer's agent, and then you progress with experience and trust. then you progress to be the listing agent, and we've got a few of those now that are ready to make that switch, which means I can pull myself out completely.
Okay, so when you pull yourself out completely, or when you're not producing those 20 deals a year,
right.
What are you doing?
It is recruiting, hiring, training, all of the above, all of that stuff. That is so much of my bandwidth, which is why I don't need to be in production.
That's right.
You have a lot of team leaders that are still very heavily in production, and what I see with them is they're not very involved with their team. And our team is a family. I mean, like I said, we all went bowling last night and did
Band of Misfits. We're going to talk about that in a second.
We did laser tag. It was awesome. So it was, and we've got a kickball team. I mean, we truly love each other, and we can't do that for me, like me having this 1,000-foot view away from everybody. I've got to be super involved, but that definitely comes with its downsides too. You know, it's like being pulled away a lot. Hey, can you answer this question about that? But I love it. Yeah. But I love that part.
I don't know what that's like.
Yeah, sure.
So, one of the things, we have a great agent in Lakewood. He's going to be joining the show in a couple weeks. And we were talking about it, and I'll try to sum it up as much as I can. But long story short, he says for every hour that he prospects, he gets a listing.
Awesome.
Okay. And I said, okay, great. How many? And I said, how many buyers, if there's a hole in your business that you would fix, what is it? He goes, I don't want to work with buyers anymore.
Right.
And I said, so what's making you work with buyers? Same thing. Sphere of influence, my sellers who turn into buyers. How many buyers do you work with a month? He goes, roughly 2. How many hours do you spend with those buyers? He goes, 10. I said, cut it in half. So let's say you spend 10 hours a month working with a buyer.
Right.
Okay? That's 120 hours a year. 120 hours a year. You're telling me that if you prospect for 120 hours a year, you're going to get 120 listings? He said, yes. I said,
you're crazy to be showing buyers.
I go, cut that by 75%. You get 30 listings. If you don't work with buyers anymore, you're going to get 30 listings. Yes, I'll get 30 listings. But I can't tell this to my sellers. So then my question to you, Brent, I'll do it with you. Why, when a seller chooses you, those 20 sellers, why are they choosing you? What is it that's causing them to choose you?
It's just it's several different things, whether it's the presentation, whether it's our sales history, our percentage of sales price to list price, all those things.
Got it.
Really, I think it comes down to just making a connection with somebody.
Got it.
Truly.
Okay, so they trust you.
Right.
All right. And what are they trusting you with?
Everything.
They're big.
The
everything,
biggest thing they're doing.
That's
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So if they're trusting you with the biggest thing they're doing, when they come back to you as a buyer, I want to challenge you, and the viewers, I want to challenge you on something. Say, listen, have that exercise with them.
Right.
You chose me. What caused you to choose me? They're going to say, we trusted you.
Right.
So here's what I want you to do. I'm going to meet with you. We're going to find out all your needs. I'm still going to engage a little bit with you as a buyer. But here's what I'm going to do. When it comes time to actually show the property, I have this amazing team of 19 people that will show you.
That's what's great about the team, right? It's like, hey, I have 5-year-old twins. They get sick. They beat each other up. I may not be available. Someone always will be, though. And that's pretty cool.
And when they need you, they're there.
Absolutely. I'm always in the shadows lurking like a weirdo.
There you go. So next time, try to say, you trusted me with this. Trust me here. Let's find out what your needs are.
Yep.
This individual is going to show you. When it comes time to write the offer and do the negotiate, I'll be right back.
It's a great way to do it.
And you free up half your time.
I'm learning.
There you go.
I'm learning.
All right. Now, it's funny because I just saw her in the office before I came here, your executive assistant. And you told me the other night, this was really cool. You're going to learn about this in a second. Saturday night, my wife's in Oklahoma. His wife's out of town. We were texting each other, talking football and talking shop. You told your new executive assistant to start thinking the way you do, actually to stay a step ahead. All right, 75, 80 million a year. What's going through that brain?
It never stops. That's, again, the tech background. I have shiny object syndrome. I always see like something on Facebook or something like, oh, I want that. I have to have it. But for my executive assistant, Tess, she's, 2 weeks with me now. So it's more of how I do things, how I organize things. I don't want to have to, I just want to know it's done. I want you to know that I'm thinking, is it done? Is it done? Instead of that, just let me know it's done. So kind of stay a step ahead of me a little bit. It's going to be tough to do, but she said she's up for the challenge.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
And she's young, and she's already got gray hair. She's great. All right. Now, you mentioned aside from joining Coldwell Banker in January, you had all this other stuff, but you did join Coldwell Banker in January. And you could have gone anywhere. With your level of production, you had plenty of suitors. What was it about Coldwell Banker that brought you over and brought you to Frisco?
Terry Macalusa, 100%. I needed someone. I have a buddy that knows Terry really well, and he said, "Hey, I don't advertise this stuff. I don't go on Facebook. Hey, who's a good brokerage? Things like that, because sharks will be in the water, and it's just airing my business out there, and that's not me. But that being said, we really have a lot of buyer agents. We need to focus on listings. And so that's, if there is one hole with our team, we're not quite even. It's more like 65-35.
Okay.
And so with the listing concierge and the Moxie and all of the tools that Coldwell Banker provides, I mean, it really just blew me out of the water. It's completely fantastic. Also, the support of Coldwell Banker, especially Terry.
Yep.
Not only is she supporting our team, she always answers her phone. The smallest questions, it doesn't matter. She gets back to us immediately, and she helps us recruit to our team.
Sure.
That was unheard of at my previous brokerage, because there's something to be said for brokers that always gets a piece of your commission, so they're always wanting you to sell more. So there's something to be said for that, and I respect it. Yeah, am I going to spend a little more with Coldwell Banker? Yeah, but am I going to sell 100, 200 more houses? I'm cool with it. We're fine. So the listings, and honestly, the culture is really awesome at the Frisco office, and it's cool to be plugged in.
That's right. And Terry's a great sales manager.
She's awesome.
She is a machine. I know for a fact, that was funny. I was just
call
joking
her,
with
refer me.
I was just joking with her. I wake up every day at 5:30 in the morning because my son now has football practice at 5:30.
Oh my gosh.
I know, and he's got soccer at night. The kid's a machine. And I actually was telling him the other day how proud I am that he's able to wake up early, go to football. He's 13, right? Go straight into school, come home, eat, do his homework, go to soccer, come back, shower, go right to bed. And he's 13, wanting to be...
Sounds like somebody I know.
Nonstop. But Terry, when I wake up at 5:30 and I look at my phone, most of the time I have an amazing email from Terry about a success story or something at 5 o'clock in the morning on the dot.
Isn't that cool?
It's phenomenal.
Yep.
It's awesome. Okay, now, you and I are both crazy. As we shared over our text messages, he couldn't believe I actually went door knocking with an agent last week. I loved every minute of it. You affectionately called your team a band of misfits, which I love. What is it about your team that makes it so special? And if someone wants to join their team, what's that one quality they got to have?
Well, number one for our team, you've got to be a culture fit. That's our most important thing. You've got, I don't care how many houses you sell, if you're not going to get along with the team, it's oil and water. That's just a recipe for disaster.
Yep.
So it's band of misfits. I told Terry when she signed me on, I said, look, if I have any hesitation, you're going to put us in the office, and we're loud and obnoxious, and we have fun. We play wiffle ball.
In the back.
Wiffle ball in the parking lot.
He's got a back door. They were playing baseball the other day. Wiffle ball.
So we like to have fun, and so it was smart. Terry put us in the furthest corner of the office, but we like to have fun with life. We work hard, but we play harder.
Absolutely.
Probably. So we have fun.
All right, so let's talk about this. Book, and then we're going to wrap it up. Book, podcast, or TED Talk recommendation for the audience.
For a team, Extreme Ownership, all day long.
Oh, Jocko Willink.
Yes, that, and his podcast is great. I try not to listen to it as much now, but I love Ben Shapiro's podcast. It's just too much noise for me right now.
I hear you.
It's too.
It's not moving your ball forward.
Yeah, Jay Shetty's great.
Yeah.
So it's but other books, Fanatical Prospecting, Rocket Fuel, those are all great.
There you go. Yeah. All right. So we're going to put it on air. We got to make a bet. Ole Miss, Florida Gators. I almost cursed. Ole Miss, Florida Gators. First game of the season, SEC. Right. He's coming over to my house. He's wanted neutral territory, so he's coming to my house. My boys are going to watch his 5-year-old twins. Let's bet. Let me ask you this. Do you have an Ole Miss jersey?
No, not a jersey. I've got polos, though.
Okay.
I'll be wearing my game day gear. Don't worry.
So here we go. Bring an extra shirt with you.
Okay.
All right. And I've done this before with FSU.
Oh, man.
Okay. On the street, whoever loses, we got to burn the jersey or shirt on Facebook Live. On Facebook Live.
You got to give me the spread, bro.
No, why?
What? Because they're number 8 in the country. Ole Miss is terrible.
they're number 8 in the country because nobody else is playing.
This is a sucker's bet, y'all.
Not taking it. No. Come on.
Who's going to win? Florida's going to win.
Okay, so I'll give you a spread. What's the spread?
I have no idea.
All right.
100?
No. All right, how about this? If Florida wins by
30.
No, 21.
Florida's going to win by 21.
I'll give you a 21-point spread.
No, you give me what the Vegas spread is.
With the amount of money you make.
How about that? You give me the Vegas spread.
Fair. Okay.
Fair.
There's the bet. Vegas spread. All right. If
Florida meets it, oldest Ole Miss shirt ever.
Yeah, that's there are no rules when it comes to that. Brett, this was absolutely awesome. Dude, thank you for having me over your
Yeah,
house, man.
of course.
I really appreciate it.
Appreciate
I'm going to go around the camera and turn it off. Any parting words for the audience?
I think you need to give us a big Texas yeehaw.
Yeehaw!
There you go. We'll work on that.
There's a neurochemical response.
Sure.
The chemicals that you feel when you say no make you feel safe and secure. Consequently, you're more willing to listen. Your guard's not up. You've protected yourself. So you start out with that question right away where somebody says no, then they've just gotten a hit of all the chemicals that make them feel safe. And now they're willing to talk to you. And then your follow-on moves are all designed to make them feel heard.
There you go.
Like you're in
Hello, everybody. This is Alex Vidal. I am president of Related ISG International Realty and host of the show you're watching today, the 101st episode of The Closer Club, with somebody who has made a dramatic impact, not only on my own life, but on my family's life and on my brokerage's life. And anybody who ever watches the show, they've heard of us, Mr. Chris Voss. Chris, thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Alex. Happy to be here, man.
No, thank you. And I have to give two shout outs. One is to Heather Monahan, who helped make this happen. And also to my very close friend of mine, Brandon Morin, who was the one who in the middle of a CrossFit workout or right after, he's like, by the way, have you read that book, Never Split the Difference? I'm like, no, what's it about? And here we are. So
Cool. Heather's awesome. I love Heather. She's fantastic.
She is. And as I shared it with you off camera, and I'll mention it again, we've shared this with our entire brokerage, my staff, my family, my cousins. My cousin is in the midst of negotiating a consulting contract right now among everything. And I'm like, do yourself a favor, plow through the book first. I sent them all my notes on it, and he's doing that right now as we record this. So let's get
excellent.
Chris, your former FBI lead hostage negotiator for the FBI. You wrote this amazing book. Tell us a little bit about your path to becoming that lead hostage negotiator.
Yeah, well, it was a lot of it had to do with I was on a SWAT team first, and what I always loved about crisis response, which kind of today we're in the midst of a global crisis,
Sure.
But it required decisions. I've not ever been a big fan of procrastination. What John F. Kennedy called comfortable inaction. So always like stuff that required decisions. Shifted over into hostage negotiation. For preservation of my body, you said you were, CrossFit and things. Yeah. I got a recurring knee injury. What I had my knee worked on a couple of times. So, I like crisis response. I like intensity. I like pressure.
Got it.
So I got into hostage negotiations. That wasn't an easy journey, but I was smart enough to listen to some advice I was given. And then because I had more terrorism experience than any of the other negotiators, international kidnapping is principally against terrorists. And, the stars lined up and I worked a case in the Philippines against terrorists. And when it was all said and done, the story's in the book. The bad guy called the negotiator that I coached, because what I really was an international negotiation coach.
Okay.
And after it was all over, the hostage walked away. So the bad guys got nothing. And their lead negotiator called the guy that I coached and said, yeah, I'm impressed. You did a good job. They should promote you, which is pretty good accolade from a terrorist.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, that you do go in more detail in the book, and you can plug the book throughout this. I know it's right behind you, but plug it the entire way, because I tell everybody I speak to, read the book. It is life-changing. Now, a quick question on the book. How did you even come up with the title, Never Split the Difference?
Yeah, well, and another plug here, Tal Raz, our co-author. I mean, the book was really written between me and my son, Brandon, and Tal Raz. Brandon's uncredited. Tal's a genius business writer. I mean, if you come across a business book, I don't know that I'd read a fictional story that he wrote, and I don't know that he's written any, but he's the best business book writer alive. Everything he touches is either New York Times or Wall Street Journal bestseller.
Okay.
And so we're working on the book. He has his own process. He's a great artist. We had a working title, and he said, look, a better title is going to occur to me as I absorbed this.
Okay.
And through the course of it, probably about 2/3 of the way through or so, he said, look, man, I think the title is Never Split the Difference. I mean, that's what you guys preach, never split the difference for a whole variety of reasons. It's bad. I mean, I could give you instance after instance why splitting the difference is a mediocre outcome. When I was a kid, there was a joke, like trying to kiss somebody through a screen door. It's just not going to be any good.
I like that. That's funny. Well, now I got to ask you then, what was the original working title? Is that story even out there? Because I've never even heard that.
No. Well, yeah. Originally, I think original working title was Killer Deals.
Killer Deals.
Killer Deals, and
which has its own meaning to the book too, right? So
right.
I'm going to take my jacket off, Chris. It's warm in my house. I'm going to take my jacket off as we talk. So Killer Deals, but then you had ultimately went with Never Split the Difference. And you guys made the right call. I love Killer Deals, but I think Never Split the Difference is a lot more proper for what the book is about.
Yeah, everybody talks about splitting the difference as if that's okay. Splitting the difference is a mark of one of two people, either a mediocre negotiator or a throat cutter who will ultimately put themselves out of business. So, throat cutting negotiators, you are putting a time limit on how long you can be effective. And personally, I don't want any time limits on my effectiveness.
There you go. Now we're going to talk a lot about what's in the book, because what I really do want people to read this, and that's a shameless plug because of the impact it's made in my life. And I'm actually going to talk about a couple of those impacts now. But one of the foundations on the book is tactical empathy.
Yeah.
So for those who haven't quite got into Never Split the Difference yet, what is tactical empathy? Why is it so important? And what are some easy ways to build with whomever's on the other side of the table?
Yeah, empathy is vastly misunderstood. Empathy is actually the great mercenary skill, and it's a great missionary skill, which is a test of a negotiation strategy. Both mercenaries and missionaries use it. It's a good strategy. Empathy is about genuinely, completely understanding where the other side's coming from, not agreeing, not sympathizing at all. It's not sympathy. It's not compassion. It happens to be a compassionate thing to do, but it's not compassion. It's just completely understanding and articulating where the other side's coming from. And where the tactical aspect comes in is the most tactically important things to choose to articulate are the negatives, the bad things, the things that they don't like. Don't deny the negatives. Call them out fearlessly. And we know that actually to be true now because neuroscience tells us it's true.
Yep.
If I want to get you into your best decision-making frame of mind, I don't get there by pitching the advantages, pitching the game. That's a low percentage success rate. It's a success rate, but it's low percentage.
Sure.
I get you there faster by identifying the negatives and calling them out, which is a diffusing mechanism, which really shifts you from survival mode to success mode. And we're not naturally wired to succeed. We're naturally wired to survive, and that's not the same thing.
Got it. Now, one of the biggest surprises in the book, and it's funny because as we shared, I got 3 kids at home doing homework on one side. I put my dogs in the room on the other. And, you could probably see it right there. The pool guy just showed up. So even then, even though the blinds are closed, the dog still barked. I wish people could see this. My wife went running behind the computer to shut the dogs off. You gotta love it. This is the world we're in, right?
It's a command post. It's a new command post for your life.
That's it for right now, at least. And, I think one of the biggest surprises that I took really to heart in the book was getting to know first, where we're so wired. I mean, we're completely wired for the opposite. For example, on a recruiting call, if I call a typical agent, who doesn't know who I am, I may say, hey, Chris, this is Alex Vidal with Related ISG, blah, blah, blah. How you doing today? By the way, I see you're a great agent. I was calling to see if you would be interested in learning more about my company. And the typical answer is, no, I'm happy where I'm at. It's a 30-second call.
Right.
I read your book. I sit down with my leadership team, and I say, guys, I want to try something different. Just hang out. I'm going to put it on speaker. So I call Chris, and now Chris answers the phone. And I said, hey, Chris, this is Alex Vidal with Related ISG International Realty. How you doing today? Oh, I'm doing great. How are you? I'm like, oh, man, I'm doing great. I already know you're a great agent, just the fact that you even picked up your phone to begin with. And they start laughing, because realtors in South Florida never answer their phone. So then I followed up and go, let me ask you a question. Do you want to make less money this year than you did last year? And they say, no. And I'm like, no, of course not. Of course I want to make more money this year than I did last year. Oh, it sounds like you want to make this your best year ever. I do. Well, that's why I was calling. I want to show you how my brokerage can help make that happen for you. And I got the no right away. And then you got the no out of the way. And then I followed it up with, the mirroring and the labeling and all that. And it was very interesting. My average recruiting call went from 30 seconds to 10 minutes.
Wow.
And just using that opening line, and I don't care, I'll share it with my competitors. It doesn't really bother me. And I would sit there on the phone with my managers like this, like if I was eating a bowl of cereal, because they're spewing out information, literally using the mirroring and the labeling. And we're going to talk about that in the next question. But for this particular question, what is it about people's need to want to say no? And what are the benefits of getting that no out of the way first?
Yeah, we're conditioned. There's some conditioning out there that we got to recognize. It's just true.
Yep.
So we've gotten conditioned that every time we say yes, somebody's trying to lead us into a trap. Somebody's trying to get us to say yes. The momentum selling says each yes is a tie down. A tie down takes away our autonomy, a basic human driver of what we are as human beings, not what we are as males or females, not what we are as Westerners, as human beings. And this is about human wiring. You can't point to a civilization in the history of mankind that was content as slaves. It's driven us since we crawled out of the swamps.
Interesting.
So these tie downs take away our autonomy and immediately begin to diminish rapport as we take away somebody's autonomy.
Okay.
And so we begin conditioned that if somebody's trying to get us to say yes, we're under attack. Now, what we've also conditioned ourselves is when we say no, we've just protected ourselves. We've just done something to preserve our autonomy. We're safer every time we say no, which is why so many people's default answer is no,
right.
Not because they thought it through, but they've conditioned themselves, which means they feel safe when they say no. There's a neurochemical response.
Sure.
The chemicals that you feel when you say no make you feel safe and secure. Consequently, you're more willing to listen. Your guard's not up. You've protected yourself. So you start out with that question right away where somebody says no, then they've just gotten a hit of all the chemicals that make them feel safe. And now they're willing to talk to you. And then your follow-on moves are all designed to make them feel heard.
There you go.
Like you're interacting with them instead of against them. I mean, it sounds like you'd like to make more money. That was based on their response. You instantly prepare yourself to go into a collaborative conversation. Again, they're not threatened. They're not being attacked. They're not under siege. And now I'm not the least bit surprised that you're going from 30-second calls to 10-minute calls, because as soon as you preserve the other side's autonomy, now they can talk to you candidly. Plus, you're different than all the other bozos out there that are trying to get them to say yes.
That's it. And the typical answer is, well, I'm happy where I'm at. Oh, it sounds like they take really good care of you. Yeah, they do. Awesome. What is it that they take, maybe I can learn something I can do in my company. What is it that they do to take care of you? And then you start finding all these holes, and then the wall just keeps coming down. We had a conversion rate of 75% from calls to appointments. It was unbelievable. And that's why I believe so much in the book. I read a lot of books, but very few make a direct, immediate impact the way yours did.
Just curious, all right, so you got to a conversion rate of 75%. What roughly were you doing before that?
Oh, probably we would get maybe one out of maybe every 6, 7, 8 calls, maybe we'd get an appointment. And then those appointments had to show up. The fact was, not only were we at a 75% conversion rate, but the bond that we had created with those people during that phone call was so good that they actually showed up for the appointment versus, I don't even have questions about the yeses, but you talk about in your book, the 3 types of yeses that we get, that we typically get. And so by spending 10 minutes on the phone with them, we actually get the approval, action-based yes that moves the ball forward, not just something to get us off the phone.
Interesting. Yeah, and here's if I may, there's 2 things I think are important to point out. So first of all, people ask me all the time about how do you feel when the tactics are being used on you? I'm good with it. I'm more interested in the product the other person's delivering. You're delivering a quality product. You're actually putting something on the table with integrity that will help these people give them better lives. You'd be killing yourself otherwise. You might increase if you were a hustler, if it was all smoke and there wasn't anything there. You could get those appointments and then it's going to die immediately thereafterwards because your reputation is now going to spread throughout the industry.
Right.
This guy, but you do something right, 3 people know about it. Do something wrong, 12 people know about it. That's why, bad moves spread really fast. The other thing you're talking about in the bonding, they felt bonded to you, action-oriented steps. The other neuroscience about this is when you start connecting with people, actually connecting, there's a neurochemical release of dopamine and serotonin, but the most important one is oxytocin, which is the bonding drug.
Right.
Your actions got to follow up with your words for that to stick, but that's completely what's going on with this sort of a dynamic.
I love it, man. You and I could probably spend a lot of time together just talking about it. You can tell I've obviously read a lot of the book. All right, question number 4. Something that's very hard for me because I'm a hyper Cuban guy, so it's hard for me to do the late night DJ voice,
Right.
Mirroring, labeling, what, how, and the occasional I'm sorry. Step and repeat, right? So late night DJ voice, mirror, label, what, how, and the occasional I'm sorry. What is it about that formula that's breaking these people down? Maybe it's what you already kind of discussed in creating that formula creates the bond, but what's happening to the opponent when that happens, when you do that?
Yeah, well, again, these are neurochemical reactions. Your voice is going to have an impact on some of these components of a person's brain called mirror neurons.
Okay.
If you can see me, if you can hear me, my affect, my voice is going to hit your mirror neurons and trigger a response. Very much like when the doctor takes a little hammer and he taps your knee with it and your leg kicks out. Yep. That's not a choice. That's a neurological response.
Sure.
So the late night FM DJ voice actually triggers a chemical reaction on the other side. It calms them down. It helps them feel more comfortable in dealing 2 things, in the interaction and with you, which work to your advantage. So the voice impacts them immediately.
Okay. And so a quick question, because this is something that I find, we were originally scheduled to do this in person, but it was actually like in November because you were just so busy. And man, I tried every technique in the book with Danielle, who coordinated this, and she knew where I was coming from. I almost felt bad. Like I knew she knew, but up until recently with the pandemic, all of my interviews, with the exception of 3, have been in person. Do you find a difference in connecting with an individual in person? Like if you and I meet in person, I think you would forever remember me. But maybe I'm your 10th Zoom meeting of the day, and you may or may not remember me, right? So do you find a difference in success in negotiation in person versus over the phone?
It's only a matter of shifting to the dynamic of the moment. It's very much like, talking through a translator. If you struggle against a process, it's going to wear you out. The phone call is just is a little bit more in the moment. You got to shift a little bit more into what you hear versus what you see. All of your expressions are also mirrored, mimicked, projected. Your physical demeanor also comes out in your voice. If I just slow down enough, I can hear it. And a lot of the negotiation techniques that we're talking about, these were designed for phone conversations to begin with.
Got it.
So, it's a matter of going back over the same ground in a different way just to pick up the information you might have missed otherwise that you would have seen if you were with them.
Got it. Now, the next 3 questions they were great because I had to reach out to Brandon and say, dude, I wouldn't even not have known of Chris if it wasn't for you. So I'm going to be your voice for you. What would you ask Chris? And maybe I'll tailor the questions a little bit more to what I'm doing, but he sells elevators for high-rise buildings here in South Florida. So I said to him, I go, dude, you got to give me some questions. I owe it to you, right? So his first question was, what are some techniques to keep a deal alive when it seems to be falling apart? So deal's falling apart, it's blowing up. What are some things that he can do, or even agents that are watching this, realtors that are watching this? what are some things that they can do to like revive the deal?
All right, if a deal's falling apart, it's because they're having trouble telling you what's causing it to fall apart.
Got it.
And
That's a good point.
if it was easy for them to tell you what's causing it to fall apart, they would. Which means there's some aspect of this process with you that they don't feel good about, and that clouds their thinking. You know, they're falling into survival mode. They're not into success mode.
So how do you break that? How do you bring them back to breaking down the wall? What would you do?
All right, an obvious a label is a label of a dynamic. There are things here that don't meet the eye. They're just not meeting the eye. You got to say stuff to them like, you know, it seems like there's something here I'm just not missing. You know, it seems like I'm not paying attention to what's going on here. Now, that's not saying that it's true. It's just saying like that's the way it seems to them.
Yeah, you're calling it out. What you're doing is you're saying, hey, something's wrong here. I'm calling it out. You know, give me some information to maybe get back on the same page or something like that.
Right. And if what was wrong here, it's either out of their control or they feel you are falling down on the job in some way, or it's probably both.
Got it.
So you got to be willing to say stuff like, it seemed like I'm falling down on the job here. Because
the accusation on it, right? That like,
the
hey,
accusations
I'm
are
not doing my job here.
If that hit the nail on the head, that'll deactivate the stress and they'll talk to you.
Got it.
If it doesn't hit the nail on the head, the crazy thing is they get to correct you. And they'll go like, no, it's not you. It's, you know, so my boss is killing me. My wife is killing me. Something on their end is embarrassing. The correction, the feeling of correction is like one of the 7 deadly sins. I mean, it is impossible to resist.
Got it.
So if you're wrong and they correct you, now you smoke out the information, you find out what's really going on. So being willing to be corrected, as a matter of fact, a lot of times when I really need to know something, I'll label the dynamic improperly because I know you're going to correct me and tell me the truth.
Oh, so you almost label, so you do it on purpose. Oh, I like that, Chris. I like that a lot. Let's talk competitors. Realtors like myself and brokerages, we'll find ourselves not only competing on, you know, maybe the sales price that we want to list the property for, maybe it's the commission that they want to pay us, maybe it's the length of the listing agreement. And this comes from Brandon as well, and I just tailored it to us. What happens, or what are some ways that we can do it where we have to also eliminate a competitor? So not only are we negotiating directly with a seller, let's say about price, but we also have to rule out the next broker that's coming behind me, or that was behind me, or is coming next. So we're eliminating price objections, let's say, but also a competitor. How do we do that?
Yeah, I mean, actually, this is a simple one, but it's kind of scary. In every negotiation, there's a favorite and a fool. And if you don't know who the fool in the game is, who is it? It's you. So we've got an approach called proof of life of the deal. Am I the favorite or am I the fool? Is there a deal? Is there a deal with me? You know, when I was working kidnappings, I get no shortage of bad guys claiming to have the hostage, presenting themselves, who don't have the hostage. Sometimes, not only do they not have the hostage, there ain't a hostage. There's no shortage of kidnappings, virtual kidnappings that come out of tourist destinations, mostly in Mexico, but not exclusively.
Okay.
Where somebody runs across a kid's wallet and a kid's phone, and they're like, this kid's out of touch with his parents for the next 12 to 24 hours. I can scare a wire transfer out of them probably in an hour if I convince them I've got the kid. There's no, not only is the deal not with them, there ain't a deal, the kid ain't kidnapped.
Got it.
It happens constantly. Proof of life of the deal. How do you get this? Proof of life of the deal so that you know for sure where you are in any one of these situations. And here's what's scary, but this is the only time you ever ask anybody why under any circumstance.
Okay.
Because why otherwise is toxic.
Yeah.
You just got to say, why me? You know, I got competitors. We do this all the time in a Black Swan group. People come to us for training and we say, look, the Harvard guys are out there. You could go to Kellogg. There's no shortage of great negotiation instruction all over the world. Yep. Harvard is world renowned. Why us? Why, you know, we're a couple of former hostage negotiators and his son. I mean, why us?
Yeah.
And what happens is the other side tells you why, which now tells you that you're the favorite, which now means your competitors are all fools, which also means don't cut your price. There's no reason ever to cut your price, ever.
Yeah.
It might be a reason to adjust your value proposition, what you're delivering.
Sure.
The other thing, too, is when you ask a why question, when they tell you why, you get 10 reasons why they should be doing business with you, but you don't know which ones are their top priorities. They will always come at you with their top priorities. Now, what happens if the other two responses are, you tell us, isn't that your job? You've just been told you're the fool.
Got it.
You are wasting your time. You're there to be the rabbit. You're there to drive down the terms on the favorite. You ain't getting this job. And this is really, people tell you how to work smarter, not harder. This is how you work smarter, not harder. There's an old saying that says it's not a sin to not get the deal. It's a sin to take a long time to not get the deal.
Got it. Got it. Fair, very fair.
And this is how you get killed, by spinning your wheels on deals you'll never get.
That's right. And people need to read the book to understand why never to ask why questions, and all the questions. Really, it should be what and how, and leave
Exactly.
it. It's funny. It took me probably a good month, and I'm still learning, but it probably took me a good month or 2 months to stop, think about what I was going to ask, and figure out how I was going to reframe the question with a what or a how at the beginning. And I'll share.
Nice. But you got your reps in, and now you're wired. Now you can do it.
Right. And I'll share with you, I don't want to share it on air. I'll share with you how I did a whole game plan on something that we're going through. I'll share it with you off air. I don't want to bring it up. So let's talk about, so you published Never Split the Difference. Now the world's turned upside down because of coronavirus. Right. Have any of your what techniques have you changed or developed further as a result of the coronavirus?
Yeah, well, we've made some adjustments in the accusations audit, which overall is the most effective strategy that there is. I mean, it's insane. Derek Gaunt is our most active coach, and that's pretty much all he teaches you to do is how to do the accusations audit, how to deactivate the negatives.
Got it.
We've had to make a couple of just wording adjustments in it, just to make it much more direct. You know, there are times when the other side wants you to be tentative about what you're hearing or to be inquiring, which is a label is designed to be, it seems, it sounds, it looks. That's relatively tentative. It triggers contemplation with the other side. It draws their thoughts out. There are times when, and that's the way we teach labels, but there are times when the other side wants to know that you know.
Okay. And
you, instead of saying, look, like, it seems like this has probably got you upset, what seems like you're worried about your future, you got to say, I know you're upset.
Got it.
I know you're worried about your future.
Because the labeling almost would be an insult. Like, it's almost like it's too obvious. You know the world's going through crap right now. Don't say it seems like. I know it's happening, because we're all going through it.
It's exactly right. Exactly right. And also part of, you know, an interesting aspect of this is you can't develop a bond by saying to somebody, we're all going through this, like they do on TV. TV is killing us by saying, like, you know, we all feel this. Yeah. And on TV, the person on the other side goes, oh my God, that don't work in real life. Yeah. What works in real life is when somebody says, I know you feel this. And that's when somebody on the other side goes, oh my God, you understand.
Got it.
You know, one of the first moves on this is to shift into I know at the beginning of the conversation, or when your gut instinct says the other side expects me to know. Now, shifting back and forth between that and the basic labels, which you're talking about in your approach, once the conversation is started, now when you're into the dynamic, you got to be prepared to shift back into, all right, so it sounds like you're happy with where you are, or it sounds like you're frustrated with what's going on. That's in the conversation dynamic. And that shift without, you know, pre-wiring yourself is a tough shift to make.
I guess so, and I guess you would probably use the I know more when you need a personal touch to something versus just a label.
Right. And it's almost always at the beginning.
Got it. All right, Chris, we wrap up every interview with a same question, but I'm going to answer the question for you almost. A book, podcast, and or TED Talk recommendation for the audience. Please plug the book. Please plug your TED Talk as well.
All right, yeah, and yeah, I'm going to be self-interested because these are the resources I want you to go to first.
Okay.
All right, so the masterclass, the real masterclass, the one with Martin Scorsese and Gordon Ramsay and Serena Williams. I got a course on masterclass. It's a shockingly good deal. Like, it is the cheapest instruction, and you buy the masterclass membership and you get everybody. You could buy a membership just to listen to my course, which is the highest active course on the masterclass site.
Wow.
It was their most viewed course last month. And the other interesting thing about it, because I know the real estate industry skews a little more heavily towards women, the masterclass internal data shows that the women are eating it up faster than the men are. So it's ridiculously proud of how that turned out, how accessible it is, and it's an insane value. If you don't sign up for masterclass, you're not trying to get better. You're just not.
Okay.
So do the masterclass thing. Buy the book. Buy it on Amazon. That's the best price you're going to get everywhere. And then subscribe to our newsletter. Our newsletter is free. It's a good price. It's designed to be a short, quick, actionable supplement. Comes out every Tuesday morning.
Got it.
Text to sign up function. Send the words Black Swan Method, those 3 words, lowercase, spaces are fine.
Okay.
Text to the number 33777.
33777.
33777. You send that text and you get a dialogue box back. Sign up to the newsletter. It is a gateway. We get tons of material. We get a lot of free content.
Awesome.
Take the cheap and free stuff first.
And the book is free. I think I paid $20 for the book. That's free. I mean, for what we've done, it's paying me now, right? It's not the $20 I spent for the book, and the book is paying me now. So I can't recommend it enough. So Chris, thank you so much. Don't hang up. I'm going to end the recording, but thank you so much for joining us. Once we're able to go back to normal, which I hope is soon, we got to do this in person, man. We have to.
I'd love that. Yeah, perfect.
Awesome.